Hi, I'm Teja Gerken with Peghead Nation, and I'm here with the very latest from Martin guitars, just introduced in January 2022. Ordinarily, new guitars would, of course, most likely be introduced at the Winter NAMM show, which would ordinarily be held in Anaheim, California in January of every year. But of course, we haven't had one of those in a couple of years due to COVID restrictions. But this hasn't kept manufacturers from coming out with new instruments. And Martin has introduced several new models, and I have 3 of them here. I'm going to talk about 2 of the instruments, and we're going to save the other one for another demo. But what we have here is the SC13E Special, in this case with the optional sunburst finish. You might remember that pretty much exactly 2 years ago at the 2020 Winter NAMM show, Martin introduced the SC13E, which was a very radical new guitar for the company. And at the time, there was the promise of expanding that line to additional models, and of course with everything that's been happening, that has taken a little bit longer than we originally thought, but I'm happy to announce that these new models are now here. So there are essentially 2 new models, both at the lower end from the original SC13E and at the higher end. I'm going to start out showing you this SC13E Special, which, as I mentioned before, is available in 2 variations with different finishes, which is placed sort of slightly above the original SC13E that was originally introduced. So before I get into much detail about this guitar, let's briefly back up and talk about the SC13 Concept in general. It's, of course, when it was introduced, a completely new body shape for Martin. You can see it's an asymmetrical design. Not only is the cutaway asymmetrical, the whole waist of the guitar is shifted to create an asymmetrical body. So that in itself is fairly significant, but the biggest departure from any kind of traditional guitar design, not just for Martin, but really in general, is the way the neck joint on this guitar works. And that is a very cool and innovative design. It's fundamentally a bolt-on design, but it combines elements of a dovetail joint in a sort of rail mechanism that is in the neck pocket, so you still have the sort of wood-to-wood contact that you would have in a dovetail neck joint, even though there's no heel on the neck, and it's completely adjustable. There are 2 bolts in the back of the instrument that fundamentally hold the neck to the body. There are some adjustments that are reachable through the sound hole. Most importantly, there is a mechanism to insert a set of shims that can adjust the angle of the neck, which in effect affects the action of the instrument, and you can use it to either fine-tune the action to the way you like it, or of course it can be used for further adjustments as the instrument settles, and do the kind of adjustments that would ordinarily happen by raising or lowering the saddle of the instrument, but now it can be done with these shims. Now Martin does recommend that you take the guitars to a dealer to have that work done, but it's a matter of a very simple procedure to have this done. There's also an adjustment mechanism in here that can adjust the lateral movement of the neck, and that can be used to fine-tune the guitar's intonation. And really what this means is that this neck joint is completely adjustable and can really fine-tune the instrument to its optimum playing capabilities. Martin calls the system the Sure Align System neck joint, and besides the technical execution of how this is all put together, it is of course also designed to afford excellent upper fret access. And not only does it have the cutaway that allows you to go all the way to the highest frets with ease, because there's no heel on the neck, your thumb has a lot more freedom on the back of the neck. The neck itself uses Martin's high-performance taper shape, which is something that we've seen on other Martin models as well. But of course, in the case of this guitar, it is integrated into what Martin calls the low-profile velocity, and it really makes the neck and the neck joint and the body be part of one system. So the playability that this neck design affords is really quite remarkable for an acoustic flat-top guitar. Not only is it easy to play leads way up the neck, you can also play chords really well past the 12th fret up here. So a design that really facilitates playing the guitar a little bit more like an electric guitar than you would ordinarily play with a typical flat top. So the SC13E Special that I'm holding here is built with a solid Sitka spruce top, and I mentioned already it's available in 2 different finishes. I have here the custom sunburst version. There's also a natural version, so you can pick whichever one you prefer. The natural version is slightly less expensive. I think the sunburst on this is really quite beautiful. And Martin used veneered zirconi for the back and sides of this guitar. And that is something that we've seen in several other models over the last couple of years as well. It's a very beautiful wood, and of course, zirconi has the tonal qualities that are generally compared to kind of a rosewood family type resonance. The fingerboard and bridge on this guitar are made from ebony, and the bridge is an interesting design as well in that it has the traditional Martin outline, but rather than having the slightly scooped wings on the bridge, this one has an overall domed shape. So it's kind of a modern interpretation of a classic design. And that is really something that we see throughout these SC models. The peghead shape is completely traditional. The guitar has open back tuners. Interestingly, on these special models, they are the ratio tuners, and that is a set of tuners that uses a slightly different tuning ratio for each string. And what that means is that you use the same amount of turns to achieve the same change in pitch for each string. So some players find that that really facilitates quick tuning. Very smooth mechanism. In this case, with what are called skeleton knobs, you can see that they are kind of slightly opened. Also gives a nice grip on the buttons on here. In terms of the guitar's appointments, I really like this rosette, which Martin calls the aperture rosette, and you can kind of see why it's calling that. It sort of mimics the aperture of a traditional style camera with these white and brown shapes sort of morphing into each other. The guitar uses ivory pattern kind of rings as position markers in the face of the fingerboard, and of course there are traditional dots in the side. On the inside, Martin, of course, used its traditional X bracing, but even that has been tweaked in that only the treble side of the X brace is scalloped on this guitar. The bass side is left unscalloped. And it's hard to argue with the results. The guitar, even though it's such a modern instrument, fundamentally has the traditional Martin sound. It doesn't take much to imagine that tonality coming from a more traditional Martin Dreadnought or a similar guitar. So Martin has really been able to combine this very modern instrument with their traditional tonality. Of course, it makes sense for a guitar like this to come with a pickup, and on these SC13E Specials, Martin chose the LR Baggs Element system, which is a great under-saddle pickup based system. On this guitar, there's a new control unit that I haven't seen in this way coming from LR Baggs, and it's a small, very unobtrusive sound hole mounted control unit with a little adjustment wheel for volume and tone right in here. And I'll come back to show you what the system sounds like plugged into our Fishman Loudbox mini amplifier here. Okay, so that's the Martin SC13E Special. It's very cool to see Martin expanding this line a little bit more toward the high end. We're going to get back to talking about the SC10E in a different video here very soon. So keep watching out for that so that we get to cover the entire SC line here. I'm going to go out showing you what this guitar sounds like plugged into our Fishman Loudbox mini amplifier using the Baggs Electronics. I hope you come back here to Peghead Nation to check out more of our gear demos. Definitely check out these new Martin guitars at a local Martin dealer and see for yourself what they sound and play like. My name is Teja Gerken.